Thank you for listening to this edition of the Christian Car Guy podcast. It's brought to you by Mr. Quick Pick Lock and Road. Mr. Quick Pick is the opportunity for you to start your own roadside assistance business. If you have more investment energy than investment capital, stop working for someone else. Mr. Quick Pick Lock and Road is the opportunity to have your own home-based business, working directly with auto clubs and leveraging a national brand and marketing strategy. Mr. Quick Pick helps people who have run out of gas, locked their keys in their car, or need a jump start. An A-plus rated company with the Better Business Bureau and the 3-time winner of the Members' Choice Award for customer service. This could be the chance you've been looking for to serve others at the point of crisis and even share your walk with Christ. So whether you're looking for a business opportunity or in need of emergency roadside assistance, choose Mr. Quick Pick Lock and Road. MrQuickPick.com. Now sit back and enjoy this podcast of the Christian Car Guy Radio Show.
It's a land of plenty that never fails, where trees immortal grow, where rocks and hills and brooks and vales with milk and honey flow. Milk and honey, milk and honey, milk and honey flow. I am bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land.
You've lost that driving feeling. Oh, that driving feeling.
Christian Car Guy Radio Show.
I say this calls for action, and now, nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud. You got to nip it in the bud.
Negotiations Bible style. Bible style. Bible. Negotiations Bible style.
Vacation, all I ever wanted. Vacation, had to get away. Vacation, that's alone. Vacation, all I ever wanted. Vacation, had to get away. Vacation, that's alone.
Vacation ready. What are the 5 must-haves? Yes, it's that time of the year for that legendary vacation, that dream trip. You've thought about it all winter. So what are the 5 must-haves? I wonder if you sat down and listed the 5 must-haves for your vacation, all I ever wanted. What would those 5 be? Well, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. You can call and share them with us. This is a live show. We'd love to hear from you. We got plenty of lines open. 866-348-7884. 866-348-7884. Well, here's my list of 5 just quickly. And, of course, we're going to spend a lot of time on these throughout the show, but I'll just give you the list. Number 1, plan for adventure and beauty. Plan for adventure and beauty. Number 2, you got to have somebody to share it with. What good's a vacation? The stuff of legend is often who you shared it with, so people to share it with. Number 3, road ready. Your vehicle's got to be road ready, and naturally we're going to go into detail here in a few minutes. Then number 4, disconnection. I bet you feel connected to email and phone and Facebook and all these kind of things, so I think a dream vacation, you got to get disconnected somehow. And number 5, and I do want to linger here a minute, is faith. Yes, faith. Do you believe this is going to be your dream vacation? That's faith, right? I saved the best for last because I've been reading William Gurnall's book, The Christian in Full Armor, and he said this week, I just can't get over this. He said the promise, and he's talking about the promises in the Bible, is the road our faith walks on. Think about that a minute. The promises are the promises are the road that our faith walks on. And he compared walking on this road of promise to someone who uses 2 crutches and some who go further without any crutches. He said those of weak faith lean on 2 crutches, the crutches of experience and the crutches the crutch of reason. You see, my experience is that every time we go see Aunt Lena, I hear an earful, right? You know, that kind of experience. Or every time we go camping, it rains. Or possibly the positive side of this, every time we go to North Myrtle Beach, the food is just awesome. And then you've got that other crutch, reason. And reason can be just as good or bad. There is no way we have enough money to go on this vacation and have fun. That's reason. You reason that. Or to the positive. Old Red, that's my 95 Dodge Dakota, is in perfect shape to make this kind of trip. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that reality may be far from reason or experience. So how can we really know things will work out? It's the promise that William Gurnall was talking about. It's the Bible. It's like Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. You know, all things do work out for good, even on what started out to be the trip that didn't work out so well. So listen to this. William Gurnall went on to illustrate that deep faith is like swimming in that deep water. You've gone out past where you can touch the bottom, leaving reason and experience behind and resting in the everlasting arms. It's a risky, dangerous place of high adventure, sharing that with the one who saved you. Yes, Jesus will make your vacation one for the ages. Yes, when you start to sink below the waves, he's the one that will lift you up to walk on the water. So with all that said, this morning, I'm wondering, where did you go? What vacation, what place did you go when you went out into the deep water, the place where you couldn't touch bottom, where you were clearly just resting in faith? Where was that? What comes to mind when you think about that? Your deep water vacation of faith and shared high adventure. You call us 866-348-7884. Yes, you're listening to Christian Car Guy Show. We're talking about the vacation must-haves, with the last one being faith. We'd love to hear from you, 866-348-7884. So along the lines of vacation, let's play a little Name That Noise. What do you say? It's time to play Define That Defect. Resolve that roar. Trace that tick. Highlight that hubbub. Name that noise. Chronicle that clatter. So get ready to call in and win at 866-348-7884 if you can name this noise. 866-348-7884 is a number to call in and win. If they can name that noise, Kim, tell them what they'll win.
All right, Robbie, they'll win a chance to get a book from Stu Epperson Jr. entitled The Last Words of Jesus. Perfect for vacation reading.
Yeah, while you're out there at the beach, you can be reading it. So get ready to call in at 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. If you're digitally gifted, if you can name this noise, play it, Kim. Wow. That's a noise for you right there. We would love for you to call in and tell us what you think that noise is.
That sounds familiar.
You can win the book that you can be reading on vacation. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and win. Play it again one more time for him, Kim. Ah, yes, that is a car noise this time. I will promise that it is a car noise. And it might have to do with your vacation. I kind of hope it doesn't. 866-348-7884. Or maybe you've got that one of those 5 things you think are a must-have you got to take on vacation. Or maybe that deep water trip that you had one time that you want to share. 866-348-7884 is a number to call in and win. And, of course, all this that we're talking about, the 5 must-haves of vacation, all is at ChristianCarGuy.com, as well as hundreds of articles on all sorts of things about taking your car on vacation. In fact, I've wrote last year was 14 gas-saving trips for your vacation. So all that there, as well as podcasts of all our previous shows, Christian Car Guy Theater, and we'd really hoped to have you the next episode this week, but unfortunately one of our main characters had a little bit of a bout under the weather, so we will have it for you next week. It'll be Jailhouse Justice Part 4. We're looking forward to that. And this week we added a new feature at ChristianCarGuy.com. It is the Car Show Cruise-In Calendar. And so we have literally hundreds of cruise-ins that are listed there already, especially the ones that are in the North South Carolina area. But we would love to have yours. If you got a car show going on, a cruise-in or something, you can see how to contact us and get it on our Car Show Cruise-In calendar there at ChristianCarGuy.com, as well as the Christian Car Salespeople Registry and the Christian Car Care Centers that are involved in the Jesus Labor Love. And if you haven't heard of the Jesus Labor Love, that's car repair labor for single moms, widows, families in crisis. We're going to have a whole lot about that. I did want to also mention that next Sunday, which is Father's Day, June 18th, I'm going to be speaking at Peace Church in Durham at their morning services at 10 o'clock. And so that's on Russell Road in Durham. For anybody in that area, I would love for you to come by and join us at Peace Church on Russell Road in Durham. And, of course, we are excited to play Name That Noise. We got all kinds of people calling in at 866-348-7884. And, of course, I have a sort of an interesting take on Jesus's vacation that we're going to be sharing in our Appraisal by the Real Black Book coming up at the end of the show. That's where we search the Bible for hidden treasure. Cry out for discernment. Lift up our voice for understanding. What about Jesus's getaway from Mark chapter 6? He went on vacation one time. What happened? What were the must-haves on that one? We're going to talk about that coming up at the end of the show in our Appraisal by the Real Black Book. But we're fixed to play Name That Noise with all sorts of folks and a few stories, so you stay tuned. A whole much more Christian Car Guy Show coming up.
It's a land of plenty that never fails, where trees immortal grow, where rocks and hills and brooks and vales with milk and honey flow. Milk and honey, milk and honey, milk and honey flow. I am bound for the promised land.
Are you bound for the promised vacation today? That's what we're talking about, the vacation. 5 must-haves. What must you have when you go on vacation? The last one being a deep water faith. That's what we're talking about. We'd love to hear your deep water story today on the Christian Car Guy Show. And, of course, we got a little Name That Noise and all sorts of stuff coming up. But first off, we have, I believe it's Bazad in a city in Washington. I can't pronounce either. Is it like Poslabo, Washington? Welcome. Can you hear me, Basad? That's an interesting noise we got there. Hang on, Basad. We'll see if we can get you in better. In the meantime, we got Tammy is in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she's got a noise to name that noise for us. Tammy, you're on the Christian Car Guy Show. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful. So we'll get Kim to play that noise one more time for us so that you can get ready to play. Name that noise. Go ahead, Kim, play it one more time. So, Tammy, what do you think that is?
I think that's a tire getting punctured and the air going out.
Oh, wow. You know, that could be what's happening. Of course, the actual sound that I recorded was another sound, but that's a very similar sound, and I love that you thought that. But I could never be sure that when we recorded that somebody wasn't at the same time getting a flat tire. There's just no way I could. So we're going to give it to you.
All right.
Have you ever had a flat tire on vacation, Tammy?
Not on vacation.
I've
had one. I've had one going to work.
Well, I had one. My wife and I were coming down out of the mountains just a few weeks ago when we were coming back. And here I am, the Christian Car Guy, and a rear tire literally blew out. I've never seen one do it like it did. I mean, it just totally came apart.
Oh, wow.
And so my wife was like, well, what are you going to do? As we pull over, thank goodness it wasn't on the front. We didn't lose control of the car. And I said, well,
yeah,
I guess I'm going to change the tire. I'm the Christian Car Guy. I should be able to pull this off. She goes, "No, you're not." I said, "Yeah, I watch," and it was kind of fun. I hadn't done it a long time, and the car went right up on the jack, and away you go. It was just like it used to do it when I was a kid.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for calling in, Tammy. I love your answer. There's just another one out there for somebody that may think of something else that could happen on vacation that would sound like that
Well,
to a car.
I could definitely think of something else, but I think it's great to give somebody else opportunity.
Thank you, Tammy. God bless. All right, play it one more time. There we go. Yes. It's not a good thing when it happens, and we would love to hear your guess. 866-348-7884. And, of course, our friend in Washington, we would love for you to call back and share that story, that deep water moment, because, when is it that you had to go out in faith and you could no longer touch bottom and you were feeling that? Kim, you got something you were going to mention?
Well, actually, I'm not going to give it away, but this happened to me kind of on vacation. And
oh, so you knew what that noise was?
Yeah.
I can see somebody's calling in. They think they got it.
I don't have to tell you about that one.
866-34. This is the number to call in. And my kids say I always say it too fast. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and share your deep water vacation or what you may think that noise is. 866-348-7884. Well, let's go back over my list of 5. And again, I'd love to know your list. We're going to go over them a little bit slower this time. Number 1, plan for adventure and beauty. I love what John Eldridge says. He says, life is not a problem to be solved. It's an adventure to be lived. And wherever the destination, adventure and beauty combine to make it a blast and good for us. Think about those vacations that you really, really enjoyed in your life, and I'm going to bet you that there was some adventure and there was some beauty, some risk, some feeling like you're out on the high seas. I've got a deep water vacation story I'm going to share a little bit later in the show. I'm really looking forward to sharing, where my wife and I decided to rent a sailboat out in the ocean just a few summers ago. So we're going to get to that. But number 2 on my list, since we got number 1 was plan for adventure and beauty, number 2 is you got to have people to share it with. The stuff of legend will always have to do with the people you share your vacation with. I can tell you this one really quickly is my family always talks about the time. My little brother, when he was 3, we were on vacation and we stopped at the hotel that had a swimming pool. And without my mother seeing him or whatever, he went over to where the swimming pool was. And when we were unloading the car with bags, all of a sudden we look up and my little brother Mark, who was 3 at the time, is standing on the high dive. Yes, at the very top of the high dive. And of course, he jumps. Of course, my father goes running in and catches, he made it. But, of course, that was, it's stuff people to share the adventure with. So, that's part of a deep water adventure is you got to have somebody to share it with. And your family, of course, that's always precious. So number 3, as we talked about, is a road-ready vehicle. And we're going to talk a lot about that as we go on. But a current registration, a state inspection, there's nothing worse than getting stopped and your plate is expired in another state. That's never a good thing. But we got Faye is in Winston-Salem. She wants to try the noise. Faye, you're on Christian Car Guy. Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm excited. Have you been on vacation yet this year, Faye?
No, I'm on vacation next week.
Oh, good. Well, I hope you don't hear this noise. What do you think the noise is?
An overheated radiator.
You are exactly right. That was the exact sound that I had that happen on vacation one time where a hose popped and away it went. Well, we got so much more Christian Car Guy show coming up. Faye, you were exactly right. We got some other calls to get to. We're going to hear a lot more about your 5 must-haves for the vacation. 866-348-7884.
Vacation all I ever wanted. Vacation had to get
Vacation ready. Is your car ready? Are you ready? Do you have the 5 must-haves? Have you thought about what are the must-haves for a great vacation? What did Jesus have to have on his? We're going to talk about that in Mark chapter 6 coming up in our Appraisal by the Real Black Book at the end of the show. But I'm interested, if you ever had a deep water vacation where you were out there swimming around just resting on the everlasting arms where you couldn't touch bottom, I would love to hear that story. 866 is the number to call in. We got plenty of lines open, and of course we unfortunately had a little phone problem there for a minute, so if you tried to call and you weren't able to get through, we would love to take your call. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and share. And we were talking about number 1 is plan for adventure, number 2, people to share it with, number 3, road-ready vehicle, and we're going to get to that, but I did promise you a deep water vacation story. That one time, what I really wanted to do was I wanted to sail, and I still do actually, I want to sail a boat from Miami to the Bahamas, just me and my wife. I just wanted to do that. And I thought, but before I did that, I better go out in the ocean a little bit further than I've been, and I have sailed a couple times offshore, but I hadn't really gone very far. So my wife and I got with this sailboat rental company that was actually in Orlando. It was in Tampa. That rented boats out of Tampa Bay. And at this point, we still had our daughter Mariah living with us at home, and so Mariah went with us. And, one day we went out, and according to the radio and everything, it was just wonderful weather. And, we went out quite a ways in the ocean, and on the way back in, we got a call on the radio from the marina that said, you need to get right back in here. There's a bad storm right in Tampa Bay as soon as you cross the bridge. Well, oh my word. When we crossed the bridge, I had to drop the sails and go to the motor. The waves were coming over the bow. My daughter was so scared. She came back and she said, should I call my friends and tell them goodbye? Because, we still had cell phone coverage out there. Because when those waves started coming over the bow, she thought this could be the end, but what it was, of course, we all made it safely. But what it was high adventure, and that storm is the part of the trip that none of us will ever forget. That place where, you have no place but to lean on the everlasting arms, like God's got this. And that's part of what makes a deep water vacation story. And in fact, Gary Smalley teaches that the families that stay together, the only thing he could find in common were those that went camping. And what he thought that had to do with was the families that go camping undergo a lot of adversity. In other words, that day it rained through the whole camping trip, or whatever happened, the mosquitoes infested or the little brother goes up on the diving board. Those things lead to the adventure feeling, and which brings families closer together. You don't think when those waves were coming over the bow that my family was holding on to each other very tightly. Those are the things that make real interesting vacations, and I would love to hear your story along those lines. 866-348-7884, 866-34-TRUTH. Of course, this is the Christian Car Guy Show, so we got to get to a little bit of that. How do we get our car road ready? And that's number 3 on my list. And what we just heard was what sounds like when a hose busts. So, yes, you're supposed to do your regular maintenance, but you can tell, or certainly your technician can tell if you don't, that by grabbing hold of a hose, if it's starting to feel brittle and that kind of stuff, because you do not want what we just heard and name that noise to happen while you're out on vacation. It can leave you stranded on the side of the road. Not a good experience. Belts are the same way, especially a timing belt. That's one of those that you really need to make sure if you bought the car used or whatever, when was the timing belt replaced? Because if a timing belt breaks, it literally can seize the engine in many cars. And so it's one of the things that you really need to track is when were those belts replaced, specifically the timing belt. And if you don't know what a timing belt is, you can see in your owner's manual, it'll tell you when yours need to be changed, or check with somebody that you know, or even email us at the Ask an Experts page at ChristianCarGuy.com. Another biggie is tires. And as we found from the experience that we just talked about, that you might get a flat tire. And I was always amazed in the car business how many people had never checked their spare to see if it was still inflated. And often that tire down there that you may count on may not be inflated because it's been sitting down there for 10 years or whatever the period of time that you've owned the car. So when you check your tires and when you check your tire inflation, one of the things that you obviously need to do is check the spare. Of course, fluid levels, specifically the brake fluid, the radiator, the motor oil, those things are huge, the transmission fluid. But Kim, you had talked about that time when you heard that noise on vacation.
Yeah, I was actually coming from Detroit and to visit my son. And I was coming through West Virginia, and I stopped at a fast food restaurant. Of course, had no idea what was happening. Got in the drive-through at the window, and all of a sudden, I'm like, no,
You heard
steam
it.
everywhere.
You know, it's interesting that I went to my sister's wedding with my other sister. We were in a Rambler American, believe it or not, 1968 Rambler American. This was in about 1975. And it blew a hose on the interstate, steam going everywhere. It looks like the end of the world. The important thing is, though, and you know this, that you got to stop the car, because once it starts overheating like that, if you don't stop it, things can go really, really bad. And with our Jesus Labor Love, which is the car repair for single moms, widows, and families in crisis, one of the things that we struggle with often, and it always breaks my heart, is people that let their car overheat and then kept driving it. That's a red light. And when that red light comes on, that means stop. That's oil lights are red, brake lights are red, and overheating lights are red. So when you don't, then that causes a head gasket or worse, you can crack the block or the head. And it's not uncommon at all for those to happen. And so when you see those red lights, even if you're on vacation, even if you want to make it to the next exit, those red lights are red for a reason. You got to pull over and you got to stop. It's kind of what goes on there.
Lucky for me, I was in a shopping center, and there was an auto parts store there, so I went and purchased the hose and put it on there. Probably about 20 minutes it took me to do it. Boy, I was saying God was with me that day.
You know, and with the parts stores these days, you know, they not only have the parts, but they have the tools. They know what tools you'll need. And often they can even help you do it if you don't know what you're doing. You know, for those of us who are trying to be thrifty and make it through things like that. And the parts stores come in phenomenally handy, especially O'Reilly's and AutoZone and those kind of places. So number 4 on my list of must-haves for that dream vacation is disconnection. And that sounds so much easier than it actually is, to disconnect from work. Not just physically, but emotionally and intellectually. Disconnect from Facebook, disconnect from phones, disconnect from email. Oh, man, all this stuff is coming at us. And anymore, you know, it used to be you went on vacation and you didn't have all those things right there in your phone to bug you or whatever the situation is. But your family, everybody has waited all year for you to relax and put all that stuff down and get away. And a big part of vacation, in my opinion, one of the must-haves is disconnection and finding a way to get to that place where your soul can be restored through your faith. And again, we had talked about faith itself and how William Gurnall put it, that people with great faith is like swimming out away from the shore in the deep water where you can't touch bottom anymore, either with your reason or your experience. And, you know, those are the kind of things that go on. Well, getting back to our Jesus Labor Love, and that's car repair for single moms, widows, and families in crisis, which is one of the major ministries that God's given us here at the Christian Car Guy Show. Again, it's all available at ChristianCarGuy.com to find out more about it. But this week, we had some more difficult claims come our way, or applications. I actually got a call from a woman that works at a technical school because she had an application coming in. She had one of her students who was graduating, but he was homeless. And his car, apparently some tie rod ends and other things in the front had come undone. He tried to fix it himself. He got the parts, but he couldn't get it done, and now he's overwhelmed. And here he was finally graduating from technical school, or here he actually is because I talked to him yesterday. He's graduating from technical school, and he needs this help to get the front end of a 95 Toyota fixed. He's homeless, and what a neat place for the Jesus Labor Love to come in and help him out in the middle of that. We've got a lady with a 2004 Honda. She has really had some health struggles, and she needs a starter or a flywheel. We got so many more of those, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to pray for those. We'll talk a little bit more about those, get to our appraisal by the Real Black Book. Where did Jesus go on vacation to get away? From Mark chapter 6, so much more coming up. Stay tuned.
Side by side, they came to savage prairie land. Nothing stopped them, no wind, the rain, or sun. Side by side, these pioneers from every land, all pulled together. That's how the West was won. And they sang on the day when they would rest their boots in a land.
They all pulled together is how the West was won. That's part of the whole vacation understanding is they all pulled together, and that's how the West was won. As we talked about, a shared adventure. We would love to hear your deep water adventure or your dream vacation ideas. 866-348-7884 is the number to call in and share. 866-34-TRUTH. And right before the break, we were talking about our Jesus Labor Love prayer requests as some of the people that we had had applications from this week. We talked about the homeless man that was graduating from the technical school. I mean, how awesome is that? And now he just needs a leg up a bit. And then we had a lady who has a 2004 Honda Accord that apparently may need a flywheel and a starter. And another situation where somebody had health issues. She lost her job. She's got a son who's trying to graduate from school. And, oh, man, it's quite a story. And it's so neat that God has put us in a position to let you know about that so you can pray about it and seek God's favor for these people because it's a difficult time for them. We still have both the ladies victims of domestic violence. Their cars was really difficult shape. The one we were putting an engine in, the other one, it needed a rear spindle and all sorts of stuff that was actually from where the car was damaged by the domestic violence person that was unfortunately beating the car with a lot of stuff. So I don't want to go into too many details of how that car got hurt the way it did, but the bottom line is that God's really come through for these people through you and through your prayers and through your donations, and it's amazing. And we even had another car company in LaGrange, Georgia, actually, Patton Auto, contact us to see if we could help them start their own Jesus Labor Love program in their area. And so be praying for us along those lines. We're so grateful that God's got us in this position to help these people. And I always so enjoy the opportunity to pray with these applicants and to pray with you, our listeners, that God will meet these needs. And it's so neat when people will actually ask for help because it takes so much humility to be able to do that. Well, speaking of asking for help, I did want to take you back to the disciples' vacation. It happens in Mark chapter 6. And it's an interesting thing because Jesus obviously is in his own way, fulfilling the Great Commission. He's making disciples. He had 12 of them. And he sent them out, if you recall, without any bag or without any stuff. And he sent them out, and they'd been out at work, getting demons gone. This is all from Mark chapter 6. But they weren't allowed to take any money, so that they were staying with people and learning how to engage the community that they were in. And then, unfortunately, at the same time, John the Baptist was beheaded. And so that was a really difficult time for the disciples and Jesus, and they all came back together after that incident. And Jesus told the disciples, if you look at it in Mark chapter 6, and this is the Robbie version, I'm giving you a little bit of a paraphrase, that, wow, you guys need some rest. You've been out there working hard. So he said, you need something to eat. Let's go to a solitary place. So you can see here Jesus is employing a couple things. Number one, he's going on an adventure because actually they get on a sailboat to go. And then he also is bringing people with him, and he's disconnecting. He's saying, we got to get away from this. And so they go over to what they think is a secluded place. But here's something interesting that happens to Jesus. When he gets there, the crowd has beat him over there. And he gets a chance to teach his disciples something else, because there's more people than they could possibly feed. But here's where their faith had to leave into the deep water, because we talked about earlier that William Gurnall had pointed out that so many of us lean on the crutch of reason. And believe me, those disciples reasoned, there's no way you're going to feed these 5,000 people with what we got. And I thought we came over here to rest. And I thought we came over here to have a vacation. And here we are, we got to fight to feed these 5,000 people. And interestingly, Jesus told them, feed these people. He said, no, you feed them. It's an interesting thing. And so their reason tells them that, and their experience is a little bit different because they're with a man who could calm a storm and all this. And so they had some experience, and they had been in these towns, and they'd been witnessing with people and healing people and anointing them with oil, but still they didn't see how this was going to work out. But Jesus took them out in the deep, deep water because he said, how many loaves do you have? And they said 5 and 5 fish. But I can't help but think about it as they were counting up their stuff. They're like, man, I thought we were going to be on vacation. We were going to get to eat, but now we got to figure out how to do this. So an interesting thing about this particular vacation experience for the disciples was they did get away, but everything was not as they expected. And I don't know if you've been on many vacations, but often that's exactly what happens. But that's our chance, you see. That's our chance to go to the one who can feed the 5,000. That's our chance to go to the one who can hold us up to walk on the water. That's our chance to really see what it's like to have faith, to go out past the point where we can no longer touch bottom, where our reason no longer says this is possible, where our experience doesn't seem to make sense. That's where it actually becomes the hope of something that's going to happen. That's what faith is, and that's where you actually get traction. And what a neat place to be, because I'm going to think, if you're like me, that when you think back to your amazing vacation adventures that you've been on, even the ones we were just talking about where the radiator hose went or the flat tire happened or whatever that thing was, those are the things that actually make it an adventure. Those are the things that actually bring families closer together. Those are the things of legend that I think really make a huge difference in, how God is looking out for us through these vacation experiences. Again, I wanted to point out that we've got so much neat stuff going on at ChristianCarGuy.com, and we do have this new car show calendar. It's a car show and cruising calendar. We've had a lot of help to do that. There's a wonderful lady by the name of Gwen who sent me hundreds of these car shows that are going on. It's amazing how many are going on, but we would love to get involved with what you're doing. So by all means, if you go to ChristianCarGuy.com, you can there email me or the people that help us there with the website, and we can get your car show in. If you know somebody that needs help with the Jesus Labor of Love, or you want to donate to the Jesus Labor of Love, ChristianCarGuy.com. And of course, the Christian Car Guy Theater, I know some of you were hoping for that next episode. I was surely hoping for that next episode today. There you can find the podcasts of all the previous, I think we're on episode 27, so there's 26 episodes of Christian Car Guy Theater there. So much fun from the beginning as Lazy Sammy Starter all the way to Pride Takes a Ride, and now the new series Jailhouse Justice. That's all there at ChristianCarGuy.com. So there's so many resources there. And also, there's a place to pray for the people with the Jesus Labor of Love and a place to donate for the Jesus Labor of Love. So all those are places that you can get involved in what the ministry of the Christian Car Guy Show is. And it wouldn't take place without you listening and without all the wonderful radio stations. I think we're up to 48 across the country that carry this show. So my hat's off to all of them. I'm so grateful for what God is doing through this and through you. And so thank you for listening today to the Christian Car Guy Show. I'll remind you again, Father's Day, the 18th, a week from Sunday, I'll be at Peace Church in Durham at their 10 o'clock service speaking. I would love to see you if you're going to be in the area. It's on Russell Road there in Durham. And remember, slow down. Jesus walked everywhere he went and got it all done in 33 years. And they went on some high adventures and they went on some amazing vacations, but often they ran into things they weren't exactly waiting on. And when that happened, they went out in the deep water and things really got fun.